Brian Lowry, Offaly are looking for yet another manager after Emmett MacDonald decided to step down last night following Offaly's defeat to Wicklow. It's become a kind of a recurring theme. Very few managers are getting over 2 years. In fact, we've had so many managers in the Faithful County since 2000. We've had Pádraig Nolan, Paul O'Kelly, Jerry Fahey, Kevin Kilmurray, Pat Rowe, Richie Connor, Tom Coffey, Phil Riley and Vinnie Claffey as a package briefly. Tom Cribben, Jerry Cooney, Tom Coffey and now Emmett MacDonald. That's an awful lot of names to reel off since the year 2000.
It is. It's a, as I said, the numbers speak for itself and the figures speak for itself. 11 managers in something like 12 or 13 years. So, yet again, we're faced with the conundrum now, looking for a manager before 2015. I suppose from Emmett's point of view, I don't think it's an outrageous surprise that he's stepped down. I think he's been 2 years there. Outside of the league, getting out of Division 4 last year, I don't think he's met too many of his goals. You look at the league last year, beaten by Limerick in the league final. It's not nice to lose in Croke Park, not nice to lose the league final, but it did get promoted, which was probably one of the big aims of last year, and he achieved that. They played reasonably well against Kildare last year in the championship, but it was a very sour ending last year with the Tyrone hammering and Tullamore. This year really didn't go according to plan at all. No games won in the league and 2 championship outings and no wins. I think the only victory they had this year was in the O'Byrne Cup at the start of the year. It's only a pre-season tournament, so I don't think Emmett was under any illusions that he probably had to step down. But the questions have to be asked. I think anyone that's on Twitter has probably seen Niall McNamee's tweets about what he said, and he's thanked the players and the management, but he believes that they haven't got much help from above. And if that's the case, well then Emmett's probably a frustrated figure as well as a disappointed figure.
Well, above means county board, it means funding that was put in to prepare teams. Now, at the start of the year, I remember a couple of the Offaly footballers were in our New Year show. They were fundraising at the time and had raised over €10,000 to try and help train. Surely there must be quite a bit of funding above that, or is it a case that they have so little they have to fundraise just to do the basics?
Well, there's no secret that Offaly haven't got as much money as the other powerful counties, so there have to be measures put in place to get that extra money. And to be fair to the players, the last 2 years, I know I'd be involved with Club Faithful as well, and we've had a couple of dealings with Emmett, coming looking for certain things, and I have to say that any money that went towards them, they pretty much fundraised it themselves through the selling of the memberships and stuff, and they were excellent. And even dealing with Emmett the last couple of years, you got to know that he's very an ambitious manager, an ambitious man. He wants the best for his teams. He wanted things that he thought would bring them on to the next level, and they were just hard got, I think, in a kind of county that's not financially in a good position. But yeah, look, we hear stories probably every year about training facilities and gear and expenses not being paid and stuff like this. So I don't know, it's not a nice situation to be in. We're kind of renowned now countrywide of a county that doesn't hold on to their managers.
And that has to help can't help, I should say, when you're trying to attract the next manager, because you're going out there, there's that feeling that in Offaly you're unlikely to be there longer than 2 years.
Absolutely, and as I said, we're known countrywide now as a county that's 2 year max. Like you read down to your list there, and Tom Cribben, Pat Rowe and Emmett, I think we're only 3 lads that get 2 years. Like that's something wrong somewhere. For someone coming in, for the next manager coming in, it's not very attractive. He's not going to have the resources or the financial support that other big counties would have, and I think that's another point. Like, regardless of what manager you get, it's gone to the modern game has gone to the stage now where a manager is only as good as what's behind him and the resources and the money available to him to prepare his team. So, like, we could have had Kieran McGeeney the last 2 years, and I don't actually believe that we would have gone too much better, because he can only use what's the resources and the funding that's there for him.
Because of, I suppose, the way the cycle has been going for Offaly in recent years as well, it's up from Division 4, it's then fighting to stay in Division 3, back to Division 4 again. The next manager, because Offaly were relegated in the past year, is going to have to start from the very bottom rung again, which again isn't overly attractive, I would think, to take over a Division 4 county.
No, that's right, and Division 4 is a really tough league to come out of. Offaly did, to be fair to Emmett, and the lads did very, very well to come out of it last year. They were helped alright with 2 being promoted, but it's a tough league. There's teams, there's 5 or 6 teams in it that are all around the one level, and to be fair, like, any of them could beat anyone on any given day. Division 3 this year looked to be that small bit of a step up. all the teams in it, right, like Roscommon. We've seen how Roscommon have progressed. They gave Offaly a big hammer in this year. And we have there is some light at the end of the tunnel with our underage teams. Or so our under 16s last year, our minors going well this year. But for the next couple of years, the next man in is going to have a big task. Probably, ideally, we should be looking to the future. We should be looking to put in a man maybe for 4 or 5 years. But that's all well and good. But the right man has to be put in for the 4 or 5 years. There's no point putting the next manager in for 4 or 5 years to keep people off their back. It has to be the right man, has to be the right appointment. And you're probably going to ask me who I think should get the job. I don't know. To be honest with you, I suppose the news is hot off the press. It's only less than 12 hours since we've heard that we are looking for a new manager, and the crack is going to start now in the next few weeks. The discussion forums and the people's opinions will come to light. And do we go inside? Do we go outside? How much, if we have to pay a manager, how much money is there to pay him? And it's the same old story.
Well, realistically, I would look at 2012 as an example of how hard it was for Offaly to find a manager, because you had Jerry Cooney end up in the position after a battle between two internal managers with both Stephen Darby and Tom Coffey going for the job. The selection committee decided they didn't want either of those internal candidates. Jack Sheedy was involved at one point as well, and well done to him on his win with Longford last night. But the simple fact is there weren't that many people who were putting themselves forward for the job. It came down to 3 people who the selection committee weren't particularly interested in, and they ended up going for a candidate who wasn't there initially in the process in Jerry Cooney. So that just goes to show 2 years ago there wasn't that many people who were actually throwing their hat in the ring.
No, and it'll probably be even less now this time around, to be honest with you, because I think we've slipped a small bit since in national stature. Like, as I said already in the interview, we're the talk of the country probably, and how we deal with our managers, and not just football, as hurling as well. Like we see with the 121 hurling manager this year, he was only appointed in May, and he was outside the top 10 of people that was asked originally to take the job. So, and we have our 2 senior managers now, our Brian Whelan and our former football manager Emmett MacDonald. Both originally went for their respective minor hurling football jobs, and ended up being promoted up to the senior job. Now, I know the selection committee were impressed with Emmett when he came in for his minor interview, and as I said, he's a very ambitious man, and he only wants the best for his teams, and we saw that with St Mary's Eton Derry as well. He's an incredibly driven manager, and he expects nothing less from his team. And I have a feeling, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I have a feeling that he didn't feel that he was getting enough maybe support, be that financially or be it from resources. As I said, we're a county that isn't able to compete.
Because on the face of it, it seems a strange appointment process, because if someone came in here tomorrow to look for a job and said to me, look, I'm looking for a junior position, you're not going to offer them both the management position and a senior position below that, because Pascal Keelan, I think it was well known, wanted to stay on as the under-21 manager at the time, and the guy who went in for the minor job ended up getting the senior and the 21s in one go, which to me, albeit be as impressed as you are in the interview, seemed a slightly strange call at the time.
It was a strange call, and that was the job given to the selection committee at the time. They were tasked with the job of getting the next senior football manager, and whatever they heard or whatever they felt about the vibes they got from Emmett that day, he got the job, and there would have been a lot of people raising eyebrows about it. To be fair, he was a young man who has no inter-county experience. He had won Ireland with his school, all right. It was a massive call, and to be fair, like for a lot of the first year, this seemed like it might be justified. I believe his 2 goals in 2012 would have been, or 2013 would have been, to get out of Division 4 and to give Kildare a good rattle, and they did both of those, but it's just the way it ended. It was very sour against Tyrone, and it was a real free-for-all from then. We players going to America, players getting injured, the hurling guys being called up at the last minute. I think from that day on, Emma's probably dead, were probably numbered.
A lot of people are clamouring for Pascal Keelan, and this happened even before Emmett MacDonald was due to leave. By the end of the league, you had supporters on discussion forums and texting into the radio saying Pascal Keelan should get the senior job. Look at the job he's doing with the minors. But a lot of people, ex-players and so on, feel it would be a wrong move at this stage to move Pascal Keelan from what's been a successful run with the minors into a senior job, where he could be a bridge between the underage and the senior, as opposed to taking on the senior job now.
Well, like, that's it. There's a couple of ways of looking at it. We could be making a mountain out of a mole here. Like, you could talk to Pascal Keelan later on today, and he could just say, I don't want it. And we could be making a big deal out of nothing. Like, it's Pascal, look, he's done a fantastic job with the minors. He's done a fantastic job with Monster Evan, with Ballinabrackey, and he was a very accomplished footballer himself at Road. He's umpteen county medals, and he commands a lot of respect both on and off the field. I think it would be a disservice to the current minors and maybe next year's minors who've shown great promise last year in the under-16 tournament that they won, if they took Pascal away from the minors. At the same time, if Pascal decided he did want it and came knocking to his door, maybe in the case of Brian Whelan this year, like how many times are you going to get asked to manage your county? Is it a chance you have to take with both hands regardless of the timing, or does he actually hold off and turn it down? Personally, I think he should be left with the minors. Maybe next year, maybe then in 2 years' time, maybe get done under-21 job and keep going with these bunch of talented footballers we have. But as I said, if someone comes knocking for Pascal to manage his county team, will he get it hard to turn it down? Will he be asked again? You know, these are all questions. We don't know what the process is going to be. Are they going to set up another selection committee now? You know, and the other thing that has to be looked at is our senior club championships are in their early stages. Like, how beneficial would it be to maybe get the ball rolling as quick as possible without, you know, I know Emmett's still warm going out the door there, but, you know, he'll appreciate that we have to move fast, I think. Maybe have a manager in place before the knockout stages of our senior club championships, give it that time, especially if he's going to be someone coming from outside that's not familiar with the county and the club scene.
To essentially avoid what happened with the hurling last year,
Exactly.
which is that there was a lot of, I suppose, confusion over what was going to happen with Ollie Baker. Was he going to stay? Was he not going to stay?
Yeah.
And in the end, you were gone into county final territory before he made his announcement, and then the announcement of the next manager actually came after the county final. So I know it was an internal candidate with Brian Whelan, but there was nobody physically watching matches in the quarter-finals, semi-finals, where maybe players could have been picked up.
Exactly, and regardless, even if the manager is an inside manager, even if it was, you know, one of our former great players, like, he'll still want to go and have a look at these guys in the flesh. He'll know about them. He'll know certain things about certain players around the county. But, like, you can't beat going to matches, seeing how they're performing in the heat of battle, the championship, quarter final, semi final, and county final. Like, they're your big, you know, 4 quarter finals, 2 semis, and a final. They're your big 7 games of the year where you really see your players are made of. It's the next best thing to inter-county football is playing senior club with your club. So I believe it's vital that they move quick. They don't put in the long finger. They've put management appointments on the long finger in the last number of years with the under-21 hurling this year, senior hurling this year. You know, I hope the same doesn't happen, and I hope that the right selection committee is put in place, the right structures are used to get a ban, and we just hope for the best. Like I said last week here, that there were a lot of questions being asked about the county board and how to go about their business, and I thought that for the next month or so we need to concentrate on our teams that are still in the championship. We've another one gone there now. As of yesterday, our senior footballers are gone. What we've left now is our under-21 hurlers, our senior hurlers, and our minor footballers. And while they need to be given the support and the backup that they need to finish out their competitions, there needs to be work now being done in the background to get the new senior football manager in place, in my opinion.